Hi, it's Norman Kochnick here on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Our special episode, of course, today is episode 14. That's 1-4 of an Aussie and a POM. Talk all things India and probably talk all things England and talk all things IPL and God knows what else we'll be talking about. I'm welcoming Chris Vernon. That's at Vern158. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good to be back. So it's been a while.
Now, you're going to have to speak up today, Chris, because not only are you on YouTube, but you're also going live on a podcast as we speak. We're into the 48th second of a podcast.
Fantastic.
Which will be played on Spotify and Apple, even iTunes or whatever the equivalent is. But Spotify has already started. Spotify immediately took us up, which is a bit of an accolade, really, that they know of the name. Although Eyes on Cricket is kind of, Eyes on Cricket is not really what you listen to, is it? It's more ears on cricket. But
you could call the podcast Ears on Cricket.
I thought of that. That's pretty lame, actually.
Well, it's funny. You can watch eyes to watch and ears to listen. It could have been worked quite nicely.
That's true. I'm gonna post a comment just to make sure we're live.
Says we're live.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're live. All right. So the reality is that, Chris, we've got a lot to talk about. A lot's permeated. I mean, one of the first topical things is that the IPL has, in fact, the IPL has actually, looks like it's announced that it's going to start September 18th through to October 10 in the UAE.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I know there's been talk about it happening in England.
Yeah, a lot of the Indian broadcasters are talking about that. So I'm only assuming that's the case. They're trying to make them all double headers, which will be very cramped. I mean, September 18th, October 10, that's what? 22 days for 31 matches, effectively. So, effectively, it's only just telling me now we're live. We must have had a delayed reaction to the live. Anyway, so the reality is that could be back on. I'm a bit shocked that it's back on, really. I thought they would have bit the bullet and just canned it for the year, but they haven't. So, because I think Australia's got a clash. I think Australia are playing, I think, Bangladesh now, and like a precursor to the World Cup. And if that's the case, well, that means that it might be some unavailabilities there, you would have to think. Well, I don't know how it's going to work. But obviously, Australia are also going to be in the West Indies shortly. So are Bangladesh. So are Sri Lanka now. God, there's a whole heap of people playing in the West Indies. But, of course, the most pertinent match is the World Test Championship, which will be June 18. And then you've got the two England versus New Zealand Test matches next week, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'll be next Wednesday. I'll be there. I'm going Wednesday, Thursday, the test. So.
All right. So that's at Lord's.
Yeah, I'm heading up to Lord's next week. Yeah.
All right. When you say head up to Lord's, how far is it from where you are?
I'll have to get on the train and then probably jump on the tube. Hour and 25 minutes. It'll probably take me from door to door. Right.
Okay. That's not too bad.
No, it's okay.
So you're going to do a live cross from Lord's because you won't be in any MCC bubble as such, will you?
It's ballot. So I had to apply on the ballot, and then we have to apply for tickets, and then have designated seats because of the COVID situation. So, I'll be able to do something. I think one of our fellow.
You can cross from there. I can have.
Yeah, we can do something. I'm sure we can do something.
You can be outside the front gates, or wherever. Something. Can we do that?
Yeah, we'll do something. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, good. Keshav Hooray is also saying hello. I'll get you on later, Keshav. After about an hour, I'll get you on, okay? So Kesha, would you mind coming on after about an hour? Chris and I are going to do a chat now. All right. So you saw that I did the Jared Kimber interview, which was really good because he and I just talked about stuff that we would talk about. That is, our histories together, his involvement with. He had a program called, would you believe, Two Pricks in the Ashes? That was the name of it.
Yeah.
And Cricket with Balls.
Okay.
They were very topical back then. And he did skits of Alistair Cook and Andrew Strauss, which were very funny. He talked about some of the aspects he talked about was regarding, what did he talk about? He talked about doing a video on Ben Dunk and all these other things he's done. He's done a lot of great things. Polite inquiries. You've seen cricket when they go polite. He and George Dobell do the polite inquiries. There's a lot of things they do. And I've actually got a hold of a guy called Aria, who's a producer, who Jared uses, and so does Melinda, and even Brad Hogg uses him. And we're going to try and do some animation for me, and we'll have some shushed up, more sort of sexier videos in the future, which will be exciting. We're going another level. With Jabashis and Extra Time, of course, Extra Time have gone more Hindi now. They've realised they've got a bit of a Hindi need, so they're going to go a bit more Hindi, which has quelled our English side of it, but we'll still come back on it where it's appropriate. Anyway, so that's some of the updates I've got. Pat Cummins, I believe, is moving into his new house soon, and the players must be pretty close to being off their so-called COVID-19 quarantine. When did they come back here? They arrived. It must be pretty close to 2 weeks now. So I'll start to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's easily over 2 weeks, surely.
It's close.
Yeah.
So I'll see them back at the cafes down at Coogee soon, hobnobbing around there, like Steve Smith and Warner and Pat Cummins and Shane Watson and co. Yeah. And, of course, the development with Stuart McGill.
I saw that, yeah. He got robbed at knife point, didn't he, or gunpoint? That's pretty serious.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to that story than meets the eye, unfortunately. And, of course, yeah, I'll be hopefully interviewing. I'm going to have Jim Maxwell on soon as well. So there's a few people going on. I need to engage with you and Simon. I mean, has Simon's thing still not started up?
His podcast? I don't think so. I actually spoke to him yesterday on something separate. But he's good. I know that he's very busy, but I know that he's always keen to try and get on if he can. So, I'm sure we can sort up a time, maybe next week, to jump on if he's about.
No, but Simon hasn't actually started up his his podcast, has he?
I don't think so. Not that I've seen.
And it was a podcast. All right. I'm going to tell the viewers that Keshav and Himanshu Chowdhury's on. Himanshu Chowdhury, now, interesting guy. We'll talk about him more later. And Keshav we know as well. For the viewers, I've told Chris, I'm now doing podcasts. I've done one. I've put Jeff Thompson on as a second. But there is a certain quirk to the Jeff Thompson one. I only thought it would be 15 minutes, but it went for 59 minutes. So 44 minutes has been made up of other cricket highlights, which I'm not sure exactly what they were, because I was asleep. And why I know that I was asleep? Because I was in fact recorded as asleep on the podcast. In fact, I think I snored for about 30 minutes. So, guys, have a look at the podcast. It's on Spotify. It's still called Eyes on Cricket, although Chris and I were talking earlier, maybe it should be called Ears on Cricket or something else. We might give it a new name. We'll see. We're into the 9th minute of it already. My hats, the new hats, which I've sent you the cups, by the way. They should be arriving at some stage, Chris.
Awesome. I haven't got them yet, but no, I'm looking forward to that.
No, they've been sent. And I've got a new set of hats, which are unbelievably spiff. So nice. I'm going to get one done. And would you like one saying Eyes on Cricket and say your name on it?
If you want to. I'd quite like the one with the Laurel and Hardy one. That's quite cool. The back picture.
That's a cup. That's a cup. You want a hat with that on, do you?
Oh, yeah. If you got a hat, I don't mind. Whatever you surprise me. I'm easy, Norman. Whatever you'd like. I'm pretty cool.
Somebody just wrote something and then deleted it. Can you delete your messages?
No idea.
Okay. All right. So that's coming. I'm all excited about that. I've got spray jackets, hats, cups, polo shirts. They're going nuts. The group's called Embroid Me. So everybody know Embroid Me are very, very good. So I'm getting them to do it. So, all right. So Chris, not forgetting to talk a bit louder because we've got this podcasting going.
Oh, I'm always loud. I'm always good.
Okay. No, you're not always that loud. So yes, interesting developments. A lot of people, would you believe, in Sri Lanka that I've come across, Chris, have actually caught COVID-19.
Yeah.
I have one girl that I know who another's a player. They've got COVID-19. Their daughter, 2.5-year-old daughter and mother. I think Sri Lanka's going through a bit of a wave at the moment. India's clearly had the wave, but I think even Bangladesh and Nepal are starting to get the connections from the Indian outbreak, which is quite scary. In Australia, we had 9 in Melbourne, which is a bit of a shock because Melbourne's been pretty clean. Sydney has still 0, which is good. Okay. From your perspective, Chris, you're in England.
Yeah.
Are you you're playing? I've seen your Seven Oaks Vines videos. They're going strong. Seven Oaks Vine.
Yep.
And the Kent County Challenge. I saw a number of county matches. I saw, I think it was Rory Burns and who was he batting with? He's opened the batting for Surrey.
Mark Stoneman.
Yeah, Mark Stoneman. They put on a pretty damn good score, didn't they? They played particularly well.
Did you see they equalled the record I saw on Twitter of the highest ever first class score or match where the opening partnership was the same in both innings. So they put on 135 for the first wicket in both innings. So they were 135 for naught in the first innings, 135. It was identical, which is the joint highest in a first class match ever, where the opening partnership's the same, if that makes sense.
It is. It's quite a bizarre stat, isn't it?
Funny, yeah. Just a silly one, but just quite a cool one, yeah.
Yeah, it is a very cool one. So, all right. So the IPL looks like it's getting started 19th of September. Did I say 19th? I did say 19th. Maybe I said 18th. 18th or 19th of September, and with an October 10th finish, which means it falls straight into the World Cup, which will probably be also played in the UAE now. So that'll be a very busy schedule. The UAE's got a hell of a lot on, haven't they? My God.
Yeah, it's probably quite a nice thing for, guys, if you're going from England to India, if you can, or some of the IPL guys, what they might do is they might just fly out. A lot of the guys, like the England side, even not in the IPL, might fly out to Dubai to train. They might be able to go out and practice, and then you're sort of halfway there to India, aren't you? Get accustomed to some of the weather conditions before you head off to India. And if it is safer, or or there's less COVID there, then it seems like a decent idea to meet halfway, doesn't it? So.
Oh, for sure. But what a huge schedule. We've been rather quiet the last few weeks, hence why I'm starting to play with podcasts. The reality is that we've got, once the 2 matches between New Zealand and England start, you've got those 2, you've got the World Test Championship. There'll be a bit of a gap, but there's going to be a run into the India-England series, and then into a plethora of matches from the UAE with the IPL and World Cups. And then you've got Australia playing West Indies in that period as well. You've got, as a whole, Bangladesh are playing Sri Lanka now. They've just won the series 2-0, apparently. Bangladesh did you say that?
Yeah, first time they've beaten Sri Lanka in back-to-back one days in 50-odd games or something. I think I saw that.
Well, you have to argue the Sri Lankan team's a bit below standard, but anyway.
Yeah.
Now, when does the 100 fit into all this?
I think it's in July. I think it's in mid-July. We're actually starting at Seven Oaks. They've organised an inter-county 100 competition where they've basically opened up to 32. Anyone can enter, any club side or any friends can enter a side, and yes, that we've got our first game tomorrow night, and we're just playing like 100 competition with coloured kit and pink balls, and so it should be interesting. I think
you're playing the 100 format, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, identical. So and that starts tomorrow night. So they might even be on the live stream. I don't know. Our game on Saturday, we're at home on Saturday against Bexley, who are another sort of at the top. They've got a couple of former Kent guys playing, and that'll be on the live stream on the YouTube channel. So hopefully you might see me get some runs or get some wickets. And
Well,
then team.
It's funny because we've got. Can you get any footage of that? Can you get some footage of that?
Of what? Sorry.
Of the 100 game you're going to play?
It should be on the live feed.
Okay.
If you follow Seven Oaks Vine
I have
YouTube channel, it should be live on the feed.
All right. Can you just forward it to me?
It's just different rules. I actually had a look at the rules this morning because one of the umpires asked, and it's just it's a bit gimmicky for me, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
Do you want to run through it quickly?
Okay, so game rules. I've actually got in front of me. So 100 balls per innings. You change ends after every 10 balls. Bowlers can bowl 5 or 10 balls in a row, and can bowl a maximum of 20 balls per innings. So you can bowl 4 sets of 5, or you can bowl 2 lots of 10, or you can bowl a 10 and 2 5s, if that makes sense.
So you just basically let the umpire know it's another over, or what do you do?
Yeah, so the umpire will call at the end of every 5 balls. An umpire will say that's 5 balls or an over, I guess. And then you can either change bowler, or you can carry on and bowl for 10, and you swap ends every 10 balls.
Right. So Surya Gayatri is telling us that I'm just following Norman's podcast, Spotify. Thank you. My gift today. That's nice. So he's listening to this podcast at the same time. And then you've got any updates on the behind the scenes for Indian broadcast ahead of the World Test Championship and Indian Tour of England. Well, look, there's a lot I can talk about there, Surya. The reality is that India have not yet left England. They're in quarantine basically from the 25th, which is what day is that? That was yesterday, wasn't it, Chris?
Sorry, my line cut out there. Say that again.
The 25th of May was yesterday, so that's when the Indians went into full quarantine before they fly out to England.
Okay,
and they're doing training as in physical fitness and some sort of indoor net stuff. The New Zealanders were out on Southampton's Rose Bowl today. I saw practicing on the ground.
They've been here a while, haven't they? I think, yeah.
They've actually they're in a hotel attached to the ground, so they can.
I don't know. I think India will be a little bit disappointed. We've had one of the wettest Mays ever here. It's poured down. We've played 3 league games and we haven't played a full match yet. They've all been rain affected. They've all been reduced overs. The county championships had a lot of washed out games, so it's meant to brine up and get warmer. But the pitches could be green. It could be a little bit damp. So I'm sure that will probably play into New Zealand's hands a little bit, won't it?
It will. Okay, go back to the rules for the 100 because we've got a question here for Ishmooks. What is the rule of bounces in the 100? Is the same as the T20?
I assume it will be. Yeah, I think it'll be 1 for the over, and that'll be it. Yeah.
Right. So what you go on? You said okay. So the bowler can bowl either 10 balls in a row, a combination of that for 20. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty much it, I think, and just sort of one day rules as normal from what I gather. So let me see if I can open it again.
So in terms of the batting, there's no differences. There's no last man stands concept.
No, I think batting. So. It's a local competition to start with, and I think you have to retire at 50, but you can come back in if all the wickets go down. So it's not a last man standing. I assume that might change later on in the tournament, but I think it's designed more to get lots of people involved. It's a Thursday evening competition, not something that you do much in Australia. Yeah, it's just a bit of fun, really. Get people involved, getting people hitting balls around. It's a 5:30, 6 o'clock start, so after work in the evening. So, a couple of beers, hopefully, and just a bit of fun, really. So,
are you saying that if a person gets 50, they're going to retire?
Yeah, I think so.
In the 100?
Yeah, not in the ECB competition, but in our local competition.
Right. Okay. But not the ECB. Okay, that would have been I've never seen a true professional game of cricket where someone has to retire.
No, there won't be that in the professional game, no.
You wouldn't think so. All right. So that's the 100. And you're wearing, what's your colours? You know what your colours are?
For my side,
Yeah.
we've actually got some new 2020 shirts, and they're pink, I think, coming. I think. Let me see if I can find it quickly, because I had a look, and I think they're getting picked up tomorrow. But we've got very much, if it is what we looked at, it's a very much a Rajasthan Royals theme to it, I think. Here we go.
Right.
Let me see if I can share that.
That's absolutely, that's a rip-off of Rajasthan. Is that you batting there? No, you're not right hander.
No, but as you can see, why the Vine's famous, what the Vine's famous for, if you can see the two stumps, the first, the place where the middle stump was invented, so that's why it's, yeah.
And you've even got a sponsor, Policy Alert, is it?
Policy Expert, yeah, they're our new sponsor this year. Yeah, they've come in and done all of our new kit and stuff. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it. To be fair.
Well, look, for the sake of our YouTube viewers and our podcast viewers, Seven Oaks Vine, just one more time, please. Let us know what that is.
That's just the club, the Kent Premier League club that I play for. Steve Smith's played for the club. Shan Masood plays for Pakistan. Who else that you guys know? There's been plenty. I
didn't ask you, Chris, who's famous who played for them. I asked about where they came from. That's all I want to know.
It's just a traditional old Premier League, one of the oldest clubs, I think, in England. It's called Seven Oaks because if you go round the ground, and I think there's only 6 left, there were 7 oak trees planted around the ground. So I think one of them got removed in the Great Storm of 1988 or 90, or I think one fell down. But there's still six big oak trees there around the ground. So maybe I'll try. I might be up there later. Maybe I'll try and send you a video of what the ground looks like and have a look at it.
So why had you rename it?
They had the whole outfield.
Sorry?
They had the whole outfield dug up over the winter and relayed. So they dug up the whole pitch apart from the square. And relayed it, and it looks really good, to be fair. So, what are they going to rename it?
So, do you think they might rename it Six Oaks Vine?
No, I don't think so. Because the town's called Seven Oaks. It's a big sort of town, so they won't be renaming anything. Don't worry.
And the vine, is there some grapes there, or what?
No, I don't know why it's called the Vine, but I assume at some point there might have been. Yeah.
All right. So Arun Singh New Zealand have been training pretty well lately. They should be able to win against England in the upcoming test. England squad looks like it's missing guns like Archer and Stokes. Well, is it correct that Archer and Stokes not playing?
Just Stokes is injured, obviously, from his IPL.
Yeah.
He's planning on being back for the 2020 comp in this country. So he's going to play. He'll be back for the India series. Archer had an operation this morning or yesterday on his elbow.
Really?
But England have got a decent-looking side. I think there's still pretty much the bones there that you would need. Bairstow and Butler aren't playing because they're IPL commitments, but Folkes is probably a better keeper and I think a better bat than both of them in Test cricket. So I don't think we're missing it. I don't think we're losing out there. Chris Woakes is probably the biggest loss. He's obviously come back from IPL duty and has been rested and from quarantine. No Sam Curran for the New Zealand series, but there's a couple of young lads who have come into the squad. Ollie Robinson, who actually played with a bit at Kent growing up. He's a seam bowler for Sussex, and I think he's taken over 200 first-class wickets at 22 or 21. So
wow.
He's runs in, hits the deck, but he's a seam bowler. I think he's taken wickets at 14 this summer so far in the county championship. So he's going to be completely unknown to basically the whole world, but he's a very good bowler. So Anderson Broad will be there, and any team that's got Anderson Broad in is going to be a force to reckon with in England. So, but the batting looks okay. Burns is coming to a bit of form at the right time. Crawley could do with some runs. He's had a slow start for Kent. But then you've got Root in there. You've got James Bracey who might make a debut as well. Who's
James Bracey is a keeper batsman, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know whether he'll keep. I think that Folkes will retain the gloves. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's an interesting time for England. It's a good time for these guys to sort of the next cabs off the rank to come in and sort of put their hand up and be counted.
I've also heard that there is going to be 70% crowd crowd sizes. Did you hear that today?
The government released that the Edgbaston test, which is the second test, is going to be a trial / pilot event for COVID, and they're going to have 18,000 people there for each day, I think. And I assume that'll be with no social distancing. You have to take a COVID test before you, half an hour before the start of play or before you let into the ground. You get to the venue, you take a test. It has to come back negative for you to be allowed in. So they're trying to gradually get people back, and it's a good thing. But I don't think Lords next week will have. I think that's just going to be on the pilot as normal. So.
Oh, but the World Test Championship is saying 70%.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure on that. I honestly don't know.
I saw ECB released a newsroom bulletin that said 70% on all 5 days. 70%. That's basically, that's what. That's 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vasanth Narayan saying hello, Chris. So with weather chilly and wickets tend to swing due to cloud cover, what should Indian bowlers be? What should Indian bowlers be expecting? And how can India avoid a collapse? Which is a good point.
Yeah, I think that the Indian bowling attack will be fine. I think that they'll let themselves down. I don't see their batting being in form enough. Even that was shown in the India series on home wickets against an England bowling attack that isn't designed for Indian conditions. England probably competes on the bowling front. I wouldn't say that India dominated that series of the bat at all. It was their spinner, India's bowling that dug them out. So you'd have thought that Kohli and co might hopefully come back into form. But if it's swinging around and doing a bit, then it'll be a big challenge. But I don't see India's bowling attack being. I think they'll be fine.
Okay. Dalton, what's the story with Dalton? I've got a Ray PMB9 saying Dalton.
Not sure. Well. Not sure.
Who's Dalton? Do you know?
Oh. No.
Okay.
Dalton. No, I don't think so.
So Manu John says IPL will continue in September. Yes, we know that, Manu. We talked about it earlier. The IPL looks to be either 18th or 19th of September through to the 10th of October with a series of double headers leading into the final. So I guess that's good.
Yeah. There was talk that India or the BCCI were going to ask England to postpone or to cancel the 5th Test match in the series over here. Which would have just been a joke. Basically all that is saying is we don't really care about Test cricket. We just want the money. We care more about the IPL and the money that brings in than the longevity or the Test. How can BCCI, which in a Test series that I think England will win, but I'm certainly not against the idea after 4 tests that it could be 2-2. I think it's going to be quite a close series. A series that could easily be the 5th test could easily be a decider. The BCCI literally saying we don't really give a crap about that. We just want to make sure we get all the money in from the IPL. So, in a time where Test cricket it's doing okay in some countries, but it's certainly not. You want it to be thriving. For the BCCI to come out and suggest something like that will just be awful. So I'm glad that hasn't happened.
No. And I think Ashwin and Jadeja, I think there's more of a strength of discussion around them both playing in the World Test Championship, by the way. There's a lot more talk about that. I don't know. I think they're wanting to they're their gun players. It's not the best conditions for them, but I think they're wanting to throw them in together. Okay. So the IPL, by the way, I think Manu Johns asked, it'll continue as per it was after 29 games, whatever their placement on the scoreboard was, on the team sheets, the list going to not change. That's interesting. Okay, so therefore it's like game 30 will be the next match, and it'll continue on as per the program. Pitches will be destroyed by the time World Cup gets started in the UAE. This is a very good point. Himanshu Chowdhury's got a very good point. If they play the IPL on the major grounds, the grounds are going to be very shortly after they're playing the IPL. It's going to take a fair bit of effort to get the pitches up to square. It's going to be an interesting twist, actually.
Have they definitely changed? They've changed the World Cup to Dubai, have they?
Well, it's not going to be in India. So
No.
where else is it going to go?
Yeah, true.
If it's not going to be in India, it'll have to go to UAE. it should quite frankly go to Australia because of the fact that we were meant to have it in the first place, I thought. So, but it won't go there. So it'll be interesting to see what actually does happen. But it would make sense if they're already in Dubai for the IPL, a large chunk of the players, which a lot of the major players will be there. It might help make that a bit of an easier situation. It could lead to more players playing for the IPL because they can get a bit of a Guernsey on the grounds before they play. The Indian form, which we saw, which was relevant to England, may now be not as important because if they're not playing in India, that form may be not as relevant to the UAE pitches, which is generally a batter-friendly surface. Okay. All right, Chris, from your perspective, what have you observed lately? You haven't been on the show for a while, with this being episode 14. What's the mood in England with cricket at the moment? Is it buoyant?
I think the mood in the country is just generally happy for things to be getting back to normal, to be honest. I think there's it's not, I think that there's been a lot of county championship cricket played, and I think people are just happy to, fans are allowed to be back in the grounds. This week only was the first time, or the last round of county championships was the first time that spectators were allowed back in to watch. But it's definitely a slow burner. But I think that everyone's just looking forward to seeing, first Test match of the summer, which I'll be lucky enough to be there. Is always a really good thing, and I think people are just looking forward to seeing another Test match at Lord's. So.
Well, seeing you're one of the very few people that have played there and have scored did you score a 50? Yes. No, you got 40.
I did a swashbuckling 50.
That's right. Well, only Sri Lankans and West Indians play swashbuckling innings, because I don't think you can ever apply an Englishman playing a swashbuckling innings. Can you really?
I've got it in me. We played the national. I sent you a link to the national knockout game.
We got 101.
Rained off, and I got 100 or 50 balls, which against a good bowling attack. So occasionally I can do it, but it's more luck than judgment, I think.
Was that park cricket though?
That was in a national ECB competition where the winners play at Lord's. So they had two former Kent pros bowling. Their overseas opens the bowling for his state side in South Africa. So they had a pretty decent bowling attack. We've actually, because it got rained off, we've actually got the rematch of that this Sunday. So hopefully it's not meant to rain for the rest of the week. So hopefully get some proper games in.
Well, that explains what happened to me last night when I did the 15-minute re-record of Jeff Thompson on the podcast. I think your Seven Oaks Vine video followed, hence why I snored for most of it. Maybe that was all.
Possibly.
I do jest. All right. So, in terms of Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes, they're clearly not playing versus New Zealand. Unlikely to play the World Test Championship. Obviously, they won't play that. What about the series itself, the actual Test series? Will we see Jofra Archer perform at all in those matches?
Against India?
Sorry?
Against India?
Yeah.
I don't know. Stokes, definitely. And to be fair, Archer's obviously a great bowler, but if Chris Woakes plays instead of him, I think that he poses just as much threat as Archer would do. He swings it. His record in England, Chris Woakes, is ridiculously good. England have got a lot of good bowlers that can play in a home Test series over here. Sam Curran, Chris Woakes, Mark Wood, Ollie Stone, Ollie Robinson. There's so many good seamers that I really don't see us having a weakness if Jofra Archer isn't playing.
That's interesting, because I do recall you not talking that way earlier. You saw him as an important cog on your wheel.
He is a very important cog, and he's a very fine. He's a brilliant bowler, and he's going to hopefully take a lot of wickets in years to come. But if he plays, someone like Chris Woakes probably doesn't. And a guy that averages 20 in Test cricket in England, with a Test match 100 against India, you can hardly say you're weakening the side bringing him in. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I think they'll try and keep Archer fit for the World T20 and then the Ashes this winter, I imagine, is what they'll try and focus him on.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so there's a question here about what will be the combination for the Indian team in the World Test Championship in the first Test. and in the first test. Please talk about the different venues, pitches in England. What will you do to win on each of the pitches? So, with the World Test Championship is actually at Southampton, the Rose Bowl or GS Ball. That's more of a, would you say, a batter-friendly pitch or a bowler?
Yeah, it should be a bit flatter. Imagine it might spin a bit more. Whoops. Yeah, I think it will be a bit flatter than Lords. Lords might offer a little bit more for the seamer, but it just depends on the weather, really. You know, if it's cloudy and overcast, and it's bound to swing about. You know, they use the Duke's ball, which are, you know, high quality dark cricket balls that will swing. So just depends on the conditions, I think. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But I think
it's good. Is it? The weather forecast is not looking good.
The forecast is better now, and you know the World Test Championship's a month away. You know, 3.5 weeks. So who knows what's going to happen then? But we'll just have to wait and see.
Being very cagey with your answers. You're just giving me a whole lot of diplomacy, not opinion. You know England well enough to say, you just can't say, oh, maybe, maybe not. You must have some feeling of how the summer is going.
I don't know what the forecast is going to be doing in 3 or 4 weeks, Norman, I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint.
But traditionally, you get a fairly wet start to a season, don't you?
Not always. It's often dry in May. We get sometimes June, July can be. It's certainly been one of the wettest Mays we've ever had, for sure, which has been disappointing, especially as everyone's sort of been locked up all winter, looking forward to getting back to playing cricket. So,
okay, well, I think you'll find that it's going to favour the bowlers more than the batters, at least the swing bowlers. I think that's my gut feeling. There's a so-called intra-squad match from New Zealand between the Southees, as in, I guess. Southey, the bowler, and Team Latham. They were on the ground today. I saw footage of them on the ground warming up. I didn't see any evidence of this inter-squad match, but you know they've got the luxury of playing on Southampton, which is very, very lucky for them. But they'll be playing a Test match at Lords, as you said, Chris, followed by, where's the second?
Edgbaston.
Okay, and that's a bowling pitch for sure.
Trent Bridge is more the bowling pitch.
Is it?
Edgbaston, all pitches in England can, if it swings around, you know, the good thing about Test cricket in England is that it can do all sorts on one day and then flat out the next. It's often not the pitch, it's often the overhead conditions and the ball swinging around that makes it tough. You know, I think that when we bowled Australia out for 60 at Trent Bridge, when Australia were woeful, when Broad got 8 for, everyone was saying the pitch is awful. England got 400, I think, in their innings. It just swung around on the first morning, and Australia were really poor. And then it flattens out, and you know it doesn't mean it's so bad. In England, you've just got to apply yourself with a bat, and the Aussies, or you know, some of the sides struggle because they come out, try and play really aggressive, don't move their feet, and bowlers swing it around a bit, and they nick off. So it all comes down to what the overheads decide to do, for sure.
But as we said, I think on an earlier discussion, one of the earlier episodes, we talked about, you know, Rohit Sharma and Gill being nickers. They're good enough to nick the ball when it moves. So is Rahane and so is Kohli. 4 of the top 5 batters haven't got the ability to leave the ball. Now, I'm expecting a lot of net practice to happen of blokes bowling their outswingers and getting them used to letting the ball go. Because if you take the bat well away from the ball, you're not going to nick it, are you?
No.
Do you adopt that when you bat? Do you tend to leave balls go?
I tried to early on. I'm a left-hander, so we've changed the balls this year. So the first half of the season, we're using a different type of ball because we were using Duke's balls, and it was the bowlers were taking a lot more wickets. So they're trying to introduce a new ball for the first 9 games to see if they can even out the playing field a bit. And they are swinging less. So I've opened the bowling twice this season. So I've opened the batting and the bowling in 2 of the 3 games. And they definitely swing less. But then the second half of the season, we're going back to Duke's balls, I think, which swing around a bit more. So, yeah, you've got to try and early on. 50 overs is a long time to bat. So if you can get yourself in and leave well, then it helps.
So what type of ball have you used? Are you using Duke later? What did you use first?
They're called an Oxbridge ball, or a Tiflex, is the make and model of the ball. They're a bit small. They feel a bit smaller, and they hold quite well. They don't deteriorate, and you can. The problem is at the moment they do shine well, but we're not allowed to shine it at the moment because of COVID. So you can dry shine it on your shirt, but we're not really allowed to get sort of saliva onto the ball because of the COVID rules and everything. So yeah, they're nice balls. They just sometimes you get a Duke's ball that just just uncontrollable, like they just swing around corners. So yeah, it's a shame from a bowling point of view, but as an opening bat, it certainly isn't as bad as it was, that's for sure.
Okay. All right. The question here is, okay, when India toured Australia, there were noises like India would lose 4-0, 4-0. There are some voices now saying that India will also get thrashed by England. What do you think will happen in the matches here? I don't think it's going to be a 4-0 England.
I don't think anyone has said that India are going to get thrashed 5-0 or 4-0. That won't happen. India lost 4-1 here last time, but that was probably slightly harsh for them. I thought they played quite well. I think 2 or 3 of the tests were less than 100 runs or less than 80 runs in it. So I fully expect England to win. I hope England win, but I don't see it being a 4-0. I think that's crazy. India are way too good to do that, and England probably aren't good enough to be able to do that at home. So, look, I feel that this tour is a lot harder tour for India than an away in Australia. I think that Australia suits them a bit more than it does England. The pitches are typically a bit flatter, have a bit more pace and bounce in them, which allows them to play their, the IPL shots off the back foot and the pull shots and the cut shots, whereas England's going to be almost pitching it a lot fuller. And you're going to have, and I'm going to stick my neck out, over the last 10 years, probably the best two of the best expert, demonstrators of swing bowling and seam bowling in the world. Take out Dale Steyn. Anderson and Broad have got 1,100 test wickets between them, and they're going to be fired up. They've got points to prove. They had difficult tours this winter in India, so they're going to be well up for it. And I think it's a harder tour for India, even with a full strength squad, than going to Australia, just because it's probably the most alien conditions that they will play in, and it'll be the hardest test.
In terms of spinning decks that spin in England, what's your most typical wicket that would spin more than not?
I mean, the last test match is always played at the Oval, and that's probably where over the years that you might play 2 spinners. The problem is with India, their best 2 bowlers are arguably Ashwin and Jadeja. I just don't, unless we have a heat wave this summer, which at the moment, trust me, won't be. I just don't see them being able to play 2 spinners because they have to play. If Hardik Pandya isn't playing, they're really struggling to balance that side, and it might be that Ravi Jadeja plays as that number 6 or 7 all-rounder slot, and they play 4 seamers, which means that Ashwin has to miss out. But I don't see them not playing 4 seamers in England. I think that it's a big punt to play 3. If you play 3 seamers and 2 spinners on a wicket that isn't spinning much, then I think you struggle.
Okay. All right. I guess from a perspective of the World Cup, if it's played in the UAE, it will certainly level the playing field. It will give India less of an advantage. It'll bring into play even Australia, you would argue, and certainly Pakistan into the fold. So it's going to be a leveler, and England will probably lose some small advantage as well, having had their experience recently in India. So it's going to be an interesting series, the World Cup in the UAE. And you could then argue the IPL people will get a bit more of a chance. I guess Indians and the IPL will have more of an opportunity. But it certainly is more of a batting paradise in the UAE. The spinning wickets, they can make them spin, yes, but they're very slow-turning spin. There's nothing to get too excited about, I think. So that'll be also interesting. Will they consider Shardul Thakur? Arun Singh's asking.
They might do. He seems to have a bit of a golden arm in the one-day stuff, but I don't see them taking a punt with him in a test match. They might have a look in the England series, but in a one-off test against New Zealand, I imagine they'll be going in as close to full strength. I think that he just poses too much of a risk. I don't know how good his batting is. I know that he can give it a whack in one-day cricket, but I'm not sure they'll be confident enough to give him a go in a massive series like that.
Yeah. Having had a chat to Melinda Farrell during the week, Jared Kimber, and a few other people who are very geared towards England-Australia matches and also England in England, because Jared Kimber's obviously based there, having been a Melbourneite most of his life. There's a lot of discussion around the relevance of the 100 and the timing of that, the fact that they had no season start last season, and this season is going to be squished somewhat because of the action going on around it. Do you think it's going to last?
The 100?
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't think this England cricket summer is being squished. I think it's meant to be the same as it was meant to be. Then there was always going to be a 5-test series in it versus India. They've not rescheduled anything to put it in. They've added 2 tests against New Zealand in, but it's a fairly quiet part time of the year at the moment. So the 100 is designed to stay. It's designed to get kids involved, to get people watching on free-to-air telly, to take up the game. So if it all goes well, and I think it's quite gimmicky. I'm not a massive fan of the concept, but at the same time, I appreciate that why it's there is for the kids and for grassroots cricket, for state school kids who aren't at your big private schools who can't afford to go there, a chance to play cricket, and that's got to be a good thing if it works out. True.
I don't know. I just don't know whether we've got room for another one, a true format. If it's going to be, is it going to just be an England thing, or is it going to grow throughout the world?
I think at the moment it's meant to be an England thing. They've obviously got overseas in there. Obviously, the Indian BCI don't want to take part, and that's fine. That's their prerogative if they want to be like that. We're not letting their players play. They're going to be South African overseas. It's going to be Australian. I think it might just be that if it goes well, it might be the Big Bash. You got the IPL. You might then have the 100 in England. I think that's how they see it. As I said, I'm not a huge fan. The game tomorrow, I'm happy to just be there, and we've picked quite a few kids, some Colts to play and to get stuck in, and I think that's a good chance for them to play a bit of cricket and to play as much games as possible, and hopefully I can be there to help them through and to see how they go.
So it's played on a Thursday, which is an unusual day to play, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just you've got fixtures. Some will be Wednesday night, some will be on a Monday. You get time to play it. It's just a group stage, and then I think the finals day is in the Seven Oaks Cricket Week, which is in August. So it's just a bit of fun, just something different. And to be fair, it's been very popular. And I said it in the local area. I think we've had 32 sides sign up to it. I think there's 8 groups before. There's waiting lists as well. We've had sponsors come on, promising bats to the leading run scorer, Amazon vouchers for wicket takers. So it's going to be it's a really popular thing. So it just seems everyone's really keen to get out and play, and fair play to the guys who've organised it.
So it's night time, not daytime, isn't it?
It will be an evening thing, yeah. So some might be during the day if it's a bank holiday or on a Sunday, but yeah, it's a 5:30 start our time tomorrow night. So.
And the series between India and Sri Lanka, I believe, has been called off.
Not sure. I haven't followed it, sorry.
I think it has. I think the last word is it has. Okay. So there's a question here which I'm trying to make sense of. In IPL format, they allow a lot of domestic players to have opportunities and unearth talent. In a case of the 100 or the 100, are they looking at bringing in a lot of young players who haven't really quite made it?
There was obviously a draft, and I think they want it to be a worldwide. I think for the TV rights and everything, they want to attract the best players, and so, but they've definitely limited the number of overseas. I think you can have 2 maybe. The problem in England is that you have 18 counties. And every county has, say, 15 members of staff or 15 player members. And I think there's only 5 or 6 sides in the 100. So a lot of the players are going to be without cricket, unless there's, I think there's a county tournament as well, a Pro 40 or, a one-day tournament as well. So that's going to be running alongside. But I think they want it to be a proper tournament and everything like that. So.
Okay. All right. I know it's now late May, and you've still got what 6 months at least before a Test series starts in Australia as the Ashes. So before that you've got 5 tests that England are playing India, correct? It's 5.
Yes, 5 tests, yeah.
And prior to they're playing 2 against New Zealand.
Yeah.
Are there any other matches earmarked for Test cricket prior to the Ashes?
I don't think for England, I think that's it. I think
that's a pretty good hit out there. 7 tests, it's pretty damn good against India and New Zealand, which are obviously very good sides. Australia's got 0. We've got a few ODIs and whatever else. But the 1 test match against Afghanistan, which will be somewhat of a historical day, but it won't necessarily be great form, I don't think. And some of the Australian players that we're hearing, I've heard that too, that are pulling out of the 100, aren't they?
I've heard that they might be, but I'm not sure. I haven't followed it a lot. There hasn't been a lot of talk on it, so we'll just have to see. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I have heard rumours they might be. All
right. So again, for the World Test Championship, okay, just quick. We're going to discuss this a few times, but the 2 matches against New Zealand, you would expect that England will win those Test matches, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd hope so. Without Trent Bolt as well, so I'd hope that England can be. Yeah, I know they've got a couple of missing. Ben Stokes is a big miss, but I would hope that England can be good enough in home conditions. It just depends what they want to do with the side. I think they're going to play a couple of debutants. So, no, it should be a really good series, hopefully.
All right. And the World Test Championship, you're leaning more towards, what's that?
My MCC little red book that came in the post.
Oh, God. What's inside it?
To get your access to Lords, basically.
Oh, it's effectively all your entry thing, is it?
Yeah, it's my membership pass, yeah. It's called a little red book. I've got a few of them, actually.
Why have you got a few of them?
Well, because you get one every year.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All we get for the SCG is green cards, a main member card, a guest card, and a blue and a red card, 4 cards. And you get them once and you reuse them for years. And they just keep getting updated electronically in terms of their validity. Yeah, we do get a nice little thing. It's nice. All right. Chris Gale is partying in Dubai. Well, Chris Gale, yeah, I saw that. He was partying in the Maldives as well. He's partying, and I think he's playing this Ultimate Cricket Challenge. Have you seen that? I think that's happening in the UAE again.
Yeah, I have seen that, yeah.
Which will be interesting. Well, that's the question. Is Australia versus Afghanistan part of the World Test Championship? Yes, it certainly is, because they're both international teams there. Yes, that will certainly count. What's we got here? Vasanth Narayan saying that I've misunderstood him. I don't quite get what his question is. All test with chances to. I guess what do you reckon that question, mate? I think Vasanth is just saying he's talking about the reality that domestic cricket top tournaments are not given as much of a, as a level of importance as should be.
I think what he means is, should England, Australia, India, for example, play a test match series with uncapped players or domestic players so you couldn't play any, like India wouldn't be able to play any of the test match guys who've played. Is that what you mean, Vasanth Narayan? Play a series without any capped players, all debutants, just to see how they go against each other. But then that's just like playing in the domestic county system, isn't it? So I don't know.
Or you're basically playing in Australia versus India, effectively. That's what you're really playing there. So that already exists. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there at all. Okay, all right. We're coming up to 54 minutes now. I'm aware of you being here for an hour. Did you want to impose any thoughts on us before you leave today? Is there anything burning that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I think it's just nice to have a catch up. And as I said, it's been quite a few weeks on the cricket front, hasn't it? Especially with the IPL going. So, as you said, it's nice to have a break, get some proper sleep because I think you were up to hours each night. So, but yeah, we'll definitely be able to kickstart everything with the English cricket summer. We're getting underway. Well, this time next week, I'll be ironing my chinos and off the Lords. I've got a pair of fairly gary, bright orange ones that I'm debating
What's
whether
that?
to do or not.
Pants?
Yeah, that's the hair look. I nearly went for pants for last week, but look at those.
Wow. Are
So I'm
they
not sure.
MCC logo?
No, they're just normal chinos. So I'm not sure if I'm brave enough to wear them, but we'll have to see.
Why not? And you got the jacket, obviously. So you got the
Yeah.
blue jacket with the labeling, or have you got the orange, the both?
I've got a tour one, so when you go on tour, you get like a MCC encrusted or like logo one. So I've got one of those, but then I just wear a normal other one as well.
Excellent. I'm envious. You know that.
Well, and you've played at the MCG and the SCG, so
Yeah, you should be very envious of that. Very, very, very envious of that. Okay. India versus Sri Lanka is going on. Confirmed. I'm hearing here from Ray. I'm not sure about that, but it could well be. And then Devaraj Max is asking, have I seen Gordon Greenwich play a reverse sweep in 1987? Yeah, I think I did see him play that. But it was interesting. What's his name? Jared Kemp had mentioned that he did a whole video on the Jim Anderson reverse sweep, that he likes doing it. And he spent 7 months preparing a video on Ben Dunk, who's obviously played at high levels, but doesn't seem to. He took his time for putting a video together, which is, I think, rather amusing. I found it very amusing that he took so long to do it. He's a great guy. I'll get him to be one of our regular panels through the season too. You like Jared?
I've not heard. I know. Obviously, know the name, but yeah, I haven't. Yeah, from what I've heard, and it's not a lot. Yeah, sounds good. I'll be keen to jump in with you guys at some point, for sure.
So we might have to get a photo of you made into a character, like a cartoon character, by this.
That'd be funny. I'd be keen to see that for sure.
Yeah, and I'll do a Laurel and Hardy Cup. They want me to do a Laurel and Hardy Cap. Did you say?
Could do. That could be quite funny, or yeah, whatever you want, Norman. I'm intrigued to see what you can.
The cup I can easily get. The cup thing I can get. That's easy to do. But the cap, it has to be a photograph stuck and look a bit dicky. Or did you want it embroidered? They can try and embroider it. That'll be a doozy. Jesus. Well, the caps I'm very excited about. They're looking very, very, very good. So that I'm pretty. I meant to go. Oh shit! I was supposed to go in today. I was supposed to go and see them stuff. She was supposed to. I forgot to go. Damn it! She rang me at 4 o'clock and said before 6. I said, yeah, I'm going to go. I didn't go. I was caught up on other things. All right, we're at 58 minutes now. Chris, did you want to?
Yeah, if that's cool. Yeah, I'm happy to head off. I've got some work to do. I've got training later, so.
But we're going to do this every week now. We're going to do episode 15 next week.
I'm struggling. Maybe next Friday. I'm at the test match Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, no, you're going to be. I'm going to be crossing you live there. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do something. I won't want to do too long. But we can definitely try and do something.
It can be 5-10 minutes there. That'll do.
Fine. And then I'm off to Scotland the week after. So the Lake District for a couple of days, and then to Scotland. So I'm away for a week. But we might be able to do something one evening. Maybe we'll do, if I'm going up to the Lake District, maybe we can do a 5-10 minutes live from there, and you can see the beautiful countryside that England has to offer. Okay.
Definitely next week. The Lord's Test starts Wednesday, which is June 2nd, isn't it?
Yes, correct? I believe so. June 2? Yeah, June 2nd, yeah.
Well, text me a time and I'll just do something with you there, okay?
Sure. Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't know now, but maybe before I get into the gate or something, we'll work something out.
Yeah, do something
from my seat. I'll probably be able to do something from my seat, to be honest, and then we can look out over the ground, newsstands and stuff.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Let's do it. Either or both. We'll see. All right. Chris, thanks for your time. That's 59 minutes. I'm going to actually end the Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick podcast. In fact, it's the 3rd edition.
I thought it was Ears on Cricket.
It's on ear. We're not doing ears. That's bunny rabbit stuff. I'm not doing that.
Oh, the
So
bunnies. How are they going, the bunnies?
Oh, Jesus. They had two horrific losses. One was 50-0 and one was 56-12. They're still coming fourth.
They're choking a bit. They're doing a bit of South African World Cup final form. Bit choking a little bit.
Look, it's just finished. It only goes for now.
Convenient. We're talking about the rabbits.
All right. I'll talk to you again soon, Chris. All right.
No worries. Have a good one, mate.
Always.
We'll chat soon.
But next week, definitely with a test. Okay.
Cool.
Ciao,
Cheers,
ciao.
man. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao. Well, just had a statement here that Ben Folkes, the keeper for England, has actually been ruled out. Ben Folkes has just been ruled. If you look at it, Ben Folkes has been ruled out of the insurance test series. Folkes has torn his left hamstring. Kent's Sam Billings and Nottinghamshire's Hasib Hamid added to the test squad. So Surrey and England wicketkeeper Ben Folkes is ruled out of the forthcoming insurance test. That could well mean that James Bracey gets a Guernsey. Or maybe even Sam Billings. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So there we go. Some news for you guys. I'll make sure I post that. That's a bit of a loss for certainly is a loss for you would argue for certainly is a bit of a loss for England. While I'm talking, guys, I'm just going to add this onto my. Yes, England have actually lost him. You'll see that I'll add that on there, and what I'm doing now is because it's just come out, I've got to go to the community tab, and I add in because it's hot news. So we go in there and we add in the photo. All right, guys, let me just do that now while we're talking. So I go in there as we're talking. I grab the photo of that Ben Folkes there. And we get that. It's quite a big thing actually. Ben Folkes is meant to be their star player. It's a bit of a loss, isn't it? It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate for England. So that will probably mean James. You would imagine that will mean that James Bracey will get a go, or Sam Billings may come in as the keeper. Interesting. Just doing that whilst we speak, guys. Just give me a second. And I posted. All right, so bit of a shock. So let's look at some of the questions here. Ben Folkes is the best keeper at the moment. England might actually be in trouble. Yes, they will be now. Without having him on the side, you're right. That's just been. Jared is one of the best analysts at the moment. I would agree with that. India has learned a lot from New Zealand on Test series and to attack right on the New Zealanders. Yeah, I think that might be the case as well. Some good commentary there, guys. So yeah, are you asking Chris? Chris is actually going. I'm pretty sure of the World Test Championship. As I said to you, it'll be 70% crowd, almost 3/4. And it will certainly be something. It'll be something to note. Yeah, I've got Cashew wanting to come on. Let me just send him the link. Hang on. I've got to just get the link. For a second. Just put Kesha the list. Where's Kesha? So Kesha was asking me be on in a second. Okay, so what I have now is I have a video on. I have a video which is on for. Let me have a look. Just put that on there. This video. So what I've done is I've put a video on for the podcast. It's rather first I've done it live, which is of interest. So we'll get that doing, which is always background music. So what background music should I use, guys? Let me have a look. That sounds awful. No. I don't know what's going on there. So I've got to put, what's the name of the segment? I'm going to put an Aussie. That was what we call an Aussie and a POM. Talk all things India. There's actually episode, oops. So it's episode 14. Sorry, guys, I'm just taking a bit of time here. I'll catch you back on. Hello.
Hello.
I just did a podcast. Do you do podcasts? Everyone, this is Kev Sugar. If you haven't met me before, say hello, everybody. Let's say hello. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Hello.
Now. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Oh my God, I've just done. I don't know what has happened here. And recording. You know, you've done podcasts before, haven't you? I can't hear you again. I lost you.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I was saying that I've not done audio podcasts. I've done video podcasts.
What's a video? I mean, a video podcast is just on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you talk, you shoot it as well and then put it on YouTube or anywhere else.
That's effectively what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, what we are doing right now is also kind of a video podcast, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. The term podcast should be used to video. I think we're doing live streaming. The podcast is only the voice, and that can be taken from the
yeah, I've seen people using this term video podcast as well. Yeah, like even with I heard it on your show with Jared. So he also said, right, that he puts those podcasts on all those platforms as well, and also on YouTube at times with visuals. So, you know.
No, I guess. I'm just doing it as I'm publishing it.
So what were you talking about so far on the video today?
A lot of that discussion was around, obviously, one of the main discussions was the IPL, okay, which was the whole discussion we had regarding the dates of the IPL. As you probably know, it's going to be September 18th or 19th. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. And
if you remember our conversation, you were of the opinion that IPL might not happen, and I told you that whatever.
Is this?
Yeah, I told you, right? They'll have to somehow manage it anywhere. I mean, such a huge amount of money is involved, so they found a
Yeah,
way.
but you're not going to give me I told you so, Norman. Point, are you?
No, I wouldn't, because if I would have predicted that they would resume on 19th of September in UAE, then probably I would have given you, I told you so. But my only prediction was, be it in England or UAE, or if they have to rejig the schedule of India-England series, they will find a way somehow, and seems so that they have found. But I think now the bigger challenge would be to get the players and the agreement with all the boards that players would be sent for IPL, because it's going to clash with CPL, it's going to clash with a couple of series.
Australia playing Bangladesh apparently then as well.
Yeah, but that's in August.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yesterday only I read the news that the 5 T20s are in August and IPL is going to be in September. So I think BCCI is in talks with with the Caribbean Cricket Board for adjusting the CPL a bit early.
So Arun Singh, are you not in India? Arun Singh, where are you? If you're asking what is the situation back in India, you mustn't be in India.
Yeah, it seems like he's an Indian, but not in India right now. So
yeah, okay.
COVID situation is much better now.
What do you mean by much better?
By much better, I mean when we went into the lockdown, and when IPL was also stopped in between. So at that time, especially talking about Mumbai, here where I'm staying, there were like 10,000, 12,000 cases a day. And now we are getting less than 1,000 cases in a day. So, that's a significant drop in the numbers.
Oh, so it was around the 3,000 or 4,000 mark, wasn't it? So,
at one point it was more than 10,000. Yeah.
No, wasn't 300,000 or 400,000 at one stage?
That was for the whole India. I'm just talking about Mumbai.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, but so Mumbai is improving. Doesn't mean necessarily the rest of India is improving.
India is also improving. Like, the numbers have overall dropped down as well. But the other thing which is now going up in numbers is the black fungus cases. So
what is that? What is it? Is that like a result of people being down because of COVID? They get this other fungus. Is that why?
So what I know so far of it is that people who have a compromised immune system because of COVID mostly, black fungus is now affecting them, because the thing with black fungus is it directly affects your immune system, and if it's weakened by COVID already, then you are at a much more risk, and the fatality rate of black fungus is actually 50%. At least with COVID, it's not that bad, but with black fungus, people are dying more.
Well, Baramarani's even, and I've heard this as well, there's a white and a yellow fungus.
Yeah, there is. Yellow is a relatively new one. The yellow one is originally found in reptiles, actually. I don't know how come it went to humans. And white fungus is also, like you have seen the fungus formation, the white color formation on foods, which is stale and which is old. So if somebody is healthy and young and a good immune system, then it won't really affect them. They would be treated very easily, and in some cases you wouldn't even need treatment. Your immune system would be good enough to beat it. But if your immune system is weak, then I think the fungus would do its job, and your body might not be able to cope up with it. That's why the fatality rate is 50%. So there's a 50% chance that you might survive it, and the other 50 is you might not.
Jesus. Well, there's a girl in Sri Lanka, her name's Marley Esther, who's a friend of mine. She's 26, has a 2.5-year-old daughter, and her mother's in her 50-odd, 1 or 2. All three of them have got COVID. And Sri Lanka has suddenly hit a massive spike Nepal and even Bangladesh have gone through big spikes just now. It's just not going away in the world. I'm sorry. It's just even Australia. We've been very good. Sydney's almost had 0 for a fair way. 2 cases a while back. That's it. Melbourne had 9 today. So Melbourne suddenly has found new cases again from those in quarantine, and the whole air conditioning saga that's not letting it go away. So that's another thing. What are you doing?
This morning when I woke up, I saw the phone, so there were a few notifications of the news headlines of the day, and the first thing that I read was 12,000 new cases of black fungus in India in the last 24 hours, and a lot of deaths. So the black fungus numbers are going up, and COVID numbers are going down. So it's all interrelated, these things.
Actually, that's a good point. We've got a blood moon lunar eclipse happening. Can you also? I want to see if I can see it. I'm just turning the lights off here, guys. Just go to the darkness here. I want to see if I can see this moon. No, I can't see it. Can you see it from your? It's not yet. It's not that time of the day, is it?
No, it's still like 5:48. Sun is still out, pretty much.
Right. I should go and have a bit of a look at it later. I'll definitely will do that. It happens at 9:30, specifically, they're saying. What time is it now? It is... No, it's gone. It was a specific time when it was going to be at its most dramatic.
So what did you and Chris talked about today?
Okay, the IPL was the first one. About the number of double headers. Okay. September 18, 19, winning on October 10. Then we talked about England and the conditions in England. It's been very, very wet. And there have been a lot of games which haven't actually reached the mark. A lot of county matches haven't done, haven't. Yeah, Biram Irani, send me a pic. You got me on LinkedIn. Tag me on LinkedIn. So, and also the fact that England's also going to have a very cold and probably a very wet winter, and it'll suit the bowlers if they get on any pitch. He's playing a game tomorrow of a version of the 100. And his own Seven Oaks Vine competition, which is interesting. And then next week, of course, he'll be at the Test match at Lords between New Zealand and England, and that will be interesting. The crowd sizes, they look like they're going to have, well, at least for the Southampton match, 70% occupancy, 70%, which is almost 3/4, which is a huge number, really. It's almost a full stadium, isn't it? And they're going to trial that with the second test at Edgbaston as well. First test at Lords, not so much. And then their numbers have gone out quite considerably. So obviously the 5 test matches are as per schedule for the India-England series, post all of that. Jofra Archer went into hospital today for an operation on his hand. I'm not sure whether it was his hand or on his elbow. And Bobby Ben Stokes is still quite injured. So with Archer going through another operation on his elbow today, after having played some matches, he looks like he'll be out for an indefinite period. He won't be back.
So, by the way, what did you make of Sri Lanka losing the ODI series in Bangladesh?
Well, Sri Lanka's side was undervalued. They had a new captaincy set of positions as well. They were pretty raw to it. The batting was atrocious. Bowling was okay, but the batting was absolutely atrocious. They really lack a leader in their batting, I'm afraid. That's their biggest issue. And is the India-Sri Lanka series going ahead in Sri Lanka? Because Sri Lanka's COVID's gone through the roof. I'd say that's very unlikely. Very, very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are still in May and the series is in mid-July. So if the situation improves a bit, maybe. But then if not, they might have to play in UAE. Maybe that's like the plan B of every series.
There'll be UAE for that. There'll be the UAE for the damn IPL and then
PSL.
the World Cup.
Even for PSL.
PSL as well. Next week we'll be playing the bloody Ashes there, probably. Who knows? God knows. UAE's the centre of activity. It's interesting, though, because for COVID reasons, it makes sense that they keep them all at one spot. So if it's going to be the case, UAE. But UAE's COVID rate's not exactly brilliant either. They've got quite a mess going on there too. So they'll They can't.
Yeah, but then
necessarily-
the thing with UA is it's very handy to have 3 crowns in a very limited sort of
yeah, but 3
diameter.
rounds is
And
not enough for World Cup. It won't be enough.
for World Cup, sure, yeah, it's not enough. But I think they might use the ICC Academy as well as the ground, so make that 4.
Still not enough if they're playing the IPL series shortly before that. Did I tell you? You may not have heard. Did you hear me talk to Chris about my podcast and what's happening there?
No, I was off at that time. I was having my lunch.
Okay. I did a podcast, which was just an introductory, hello, how are you, that type of thing. Then I downloaded my Jeff Thompson one by getting one iPhone to another iPhone, one playing the video, the other one recording it. So I put that nicely together. I was lying down on the bed, and while that 15 minutes of recording of Jeff Thompson and I talking, I fell asleep.
Okay.
So the podcast continued to record, right? And what happened was when my 15 minutes of that video finished, it clicked onto the next YouTube video, whatever that might have been. It happened to be cricket. So it recorded the next 15 minutes of something else while I was sleeping. And then you hear at certain moments me starting to snore. Then the last 20 minutes of the podcast, I'm snoring my head off for the whole 20 minutes. Unbeknownst to me, I hadn't listened to it. So I got it, pressed the button and uploaded it. Not knowing that I'd uploaded not only the 15 minutes of Jeff Thompson, 15 minutes of random cricket being played by someone somewhere, and then about 20 minutes of me snoring.
Why were you recording that way? So if you go to Google, just put YouTube to MP3. So there are websites who would convert the YouTube video into a file, and you can directly put that out.
Well, I know that now, the thing you've told me.
Okay.
So, Beram Arani, if you go to Spotify and put Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnik, you'll get the videos there. And episode 2 is the one. So what do I do again?
You just go to Google, put YouTube to MP3. That's the keyword, YouTube to MP3, and then in the search results you'll get a lot of websites who would convert it.
YouTube and MP3.
YouTube to MP3, and then you'll find some websites. Just go to the website, paste the link of the video, and put the link and just press convert or download, whatever. So once you do that, it'll convert it into an MP3 file, audio file, and it'll get downloaded to your computer or your phone.
Well, I've just learned that. I didn't know that at this stage. So I've got a very funny episode 2 of me talking to Jeff Thompson for 15 minutes. Then I think I started to snore between that and the next video. And then someone randomly playing cricket somewhere in the world, some video that's been recorded. And then a full-on onslaught of me snoring. I think it's hilarious.
But don't you think for podcasts you should have put the title Ears on Cricket, not Eyes on Cricket?
I mentioned that already. Now, the reason why I'm not changing is Ears on Cricket sounds stupid. So Eyes on Cricket, it's still our eyes on cricket, but we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Ears on Cricket? Come on. That's my brand gone in the toilet.
Okay, I'll show you something.
What?
Do you see the weather behind me?
You touch the top. I can see your curtains. Looks like a Belgian coloured curtains on. Right. Where's the moon?
No moon right now. It's too early, but how does that look?
Very good. So Behram Irani is recalling it snoring on cricket. Yes, that's nice. Behram Irani said there's a typhoon in the whereabouts. I know near Assam. I think we're in Nalakshi Shamras. I did mention, didn't I, Kesh? Have you heard that Ben Folkes is out? He's pulled a hamstring muscle.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to keep?
Billings is going to keep.
Sam Billings in Test matches. That's unexpected.
Well, because both Butler and Bairstow's not playing. James Bracey was the reserve keeper batsman. It might be him, but they brought Sam Billings into the squad. You never know; he might be the keeper.
Yeah, but isn't Ollie Pope in the squad as well? Ollie Pope is also a keeper, isn't it? Part-time keeper, I guess.
He is. They're probably got plenty of keepers. It's not that much of a problem. So Berrimah Irons calling it yawning on cricket. Maybe that one episode it will be. So do you think I should leave that podcast up? I should, shouldn't I? It's hilarious because it's got a story behind it now. If between the Jeff Thompson and the next one, you hear me going, and then later on, full on animated noise.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
So I don't think that's true. Indian women didn't get paid for the last 14 months. I think they only didn't get paid for the World Cup, if I'm not wrong.
But to be
which
very
was
honest with you,
14 months ago.
But in world cricket, though, Keshav, in world cricket, I can assure you there's plenty of teams, especially Sri Lankan women's teams, that never get paid on time. They get paid very late. They never get any contracts. They get stuffed around. They get abused. It's nothing necessarily new. It wouldn't surprise me if that's partly right, to be really honest.
No, the World Cup was 14 months ago, so they didn't get paid for that. And apparently yesterday, Brad Hodge also tweeted that
That's right.
he didn't get paid for the 2011 IPL season, Kochi Tuskers 35% or something like that.
Well, that's not really an IPL problem. That's that one particular team franchise. They fell apart.
Yeah, even
pretty sure.
Did you see that Ryan Burl incident? How Puma, the brand, actually sent them the shoes. That was such a class act.
Well, it's great publicity for them too. Let's be honest.
That's true, but then still the gesture is quite big.
No, but I mean, look, I'm not knocking it. It is a great gesture. Please don't get me wrong. It's a great gesture, but it's also beautiful timing for them to get a lot of publicity.
Yeah, but then they didn't just send it for Ryan Burl, but for the full Zimbabwean team.
Yeah,
and who knows?
They're a shoe company. Come on.
Who knows? In the future, somebody might actually sponsor the whole kit also for Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a great gesture. There's no doubt, but we must remember that it's one of the most opportune publicity stunts to make as well.
Yeah, well, you kill two birds with one stone sometimes.
Yeah. Why is Brad Hodge really? If that is the case, why is he talking about that now? Is he going to get more money than he would have got back then? If there's no, I mean, it's kind of like Cameron Bancroft talking about something that happened 3 years ago out of the blue. Exactly. I mean that was a complete fizzer. That whole thing was a complete.
Yeah. So is it a thing with is it a thing with Australian cricketers?
Having a win.
taking out buried dead bodies out of the coffin and talking about the past.
Is there an animal on your curtain?
Is there what?
On your red curtain, looks like there's an animal.
No. There's nothing like that.
Oh, just if you look at the edge of your curtain there, it looks like a little monkey hanging on it.
No. This is the strap.
All right. So, what else do you want to share with us from your perspective? Because we talked about a whole bunch of things, but we were really quite scattered because it's a struggle at the moment to get good content because of the fact that there's not much going on. Obviously, there's a lot of carrying about. I'm a bit overseeing players at training and players in the nets because that's not really exciting for me at all. I mean, I find that rather annoying. But the ECB seems to be making a lot of announcements. They're making a hell of a lot of announcements. They've got a new sponsor. I think it's called IG. I think they're an insurance company. They're coming on deck. England are very good at sponsorships. As well as India's the pinnacle of sponsorship. But England's not far behind. They're very good at getting that all together.
Yeah, I mean, with England, if you remember, there's been Royal London, there's been Specsavers, NetWest for the longest time. So yeah, I mean, even with Australia, I think KFC was the one for the
They're
long
long
time.
term, but we had a few pull out. We had, was it Magenta or Magneta? They pulled out when the whole Sandpaper Gate. We
Yeah.
had sponsors left, right, and centre jumping, and also
Yeah, you had Gillette as well, isn't it?
Gillette, yeah, and when David Warner's bat company, Gray Nichols, pulled out, and it was an absolute unmitigated disaster there for a while.
Vodafone?
Sorry?
Vodafone was also there, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of them pulled out, or they went for lower, unless they actually said, we're going to pull out unless you give us a better deal. They bargained the hell out of it. It was a real mess. But deservedly
Who's gonna sponsor this year's Ashes?
I haven't seen the name of a sponsor at this stage, to be honest, so I don't know offhand.
Maybe Vodafone, because Vodafone was also the sponsor of India series, so they might continue.
I don't think it's been announced officially yet. Well, at least I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the evidence of any Ashes naming in terms of a sponsor. No, I haven't. Arun Singh saying Qantas is the main sponsor. Qantas is always a sponsor. Whether they're the main sponsor of the series, I don't know. I'd be surprised if they are, because they're in diabolical financial problems as well.
Yeah, last time in the last Ashes, I think Specsavers was such a good sponsor, because if you remember that Headingley Test match where Jack Leach was taking out his specs to clean it up, so that was a perfect advertisement, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can certainly relate to those things, that's for sure. Now, they're saying that you look like someone from Batman because where you're sitting. Official side. We've had Chris on for an hour, and you're coming in at the hour and a half point. You missed him. If you wind back the video, you'll see Chris was on there for a full hour. So don't blame me. Official side, if you'd come on earlier, you would have seen him. He's there. And he's on a podcast. If you go to the podcast under
yeah, but right now Sai can listen to an Aussie and an Indian. That's not a bad option either. I mean, I think after Ashes, India-Australia series is also not that bad right now.
So if you go to my podcast on Spotify, guys, you'll see this is also there in a podcast format, which means the verbal. So I haven't listened to it yet. I've just uploaded it. So we'll see how that went. That was live. So
how much did it cost you to put it out on Spotify?
Nothing.
Okay.
I guess it comes down to if Spotify wants you on their platform.
Okay. No, because here in India, when I put my songs on Spotify, so that's always with a middleman. I mean, you can't really directly do it. You have to find them.
Put it through. Exactly. Anchor is ANCHOR, the mob that I'm using, and I'm putting it up through them, and they're putting them on Spotify.
Okay. So, are you paying anything through Anchor?
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because I've got a platform that's pretty sizable. I don't know. I'm sure that would have a part to do it. I don't know. I haven't had enough traction to know what's really going on. It'd be interesting to see whether you can find it. You got another phone except for the one that you've got a camera on? Have you got another camera, Keshav? Another camera? Another phone? Look, I've got a phone here. Have you got another phone? Can you? No. Okay. So Birami's just sent me a message. What did he send me? He sent me on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn, aren't you? Why is that? He sent me that. I don't know why. That's not relevant. All right. So New Zealand are staying in Southampton. They're staying at the actual ground in a hotel which looks over the actual ground, which is quite special because they can just walk down there and get used to the ground. They're going to be not playing a test match there because they're playing at Lords, which is a well away, and then they're going to be playing at, I think it's Edgbaston is the next match. So they'll be playing test matches there very short after each other. That has to be a big advantage. I haven't been able to find your Luna pick. Hang on. Oh, here we go. There's a picture of the first of the so-called lunar eclipse. Very good. All right. Okay. So, come on, Kesh, think of some ideas to talk to me because I'm wanting your input because I've talked a lot about the relationship to England, which obviously Chris could talk about. He talked about they're using another ball. They're not using a Duke ball. They're using some other balls, not a Kookaburra, and it's a lot smaller and apparently doesn't swing as much. But the Duke balls they're going to be using in about the second or third match swing the hell out of each other. And, of course, because of the conditions overhead, it's raining, it's overcast, the ball swings even more. Yeah, so. Have you faced a Duke ball? Have you ever played cricket against a Duke ball? Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying I've only played a bit of school cricket, but that was with SG ball, not the Duke's ball. And as far as New Zealand, England is concerned, do you think if New Zealand ends up losing the series, even though they would have had a fair idea about the conditions and 2 games, so if they lose the series, would it actually work against them, or the bigger picture will be since they have played 2 tests in England, even after the loss, they will be better prepared against India?
Absolutely. I don't think it's going to matter too much whether they win or lose. It's really, I don't think they're going to be seeing these test matches as just warm-up matches for the World Test. They won't be looking. They're real test matches. They mean something. They count something. The batting average and all that come into play. So you won't see Ross Taylor treated poorly or Williamson if they play. It's quite serious matches. So they're not going to look at it in that manner. It's not a practice match. But even if they lose, well, it won't be the end of the world because the World Test Championship is its own match. So, and I do think in England are a better side. India and England are not a better side. So it will level things up. New Zealand, England, and India will come back onto a level playing field in England. And New Zealand's advantage is they play 2 matches. As long as their bowlers don't get injured, they will be very happy about the hit out.
But if I ask you, I mean, since these test matches are not a part of the World Test Championship final, the cycle, and these test matches were announced very late, a few months back only. It wasn't a part of the original itinerary. So why put this series in the middle all of a sudden?
Well, I guess to give New Zealand a bit of an opportunity. I don't know. They're going to count to the next World Test Championship. They will not be dead rubbers. They'll count.
No. They will not be. No, not they. Even for the next one, they won't get counted. And if you remember, there was a series which England played in New Zealand in 2019 of, I think, November 2019. They played 2 test matches there, and that also didn't get counted in the current World Test Championship final. England actually lost that series, but those losses were not counted in the WTC. So it's the same thing. They played 2 tests there. It didn't get counted. And now New Zealand is touring here. Again, 2 test matches not getting counted. I don't know what's going on.
Well, that seems a bit stupid, doesn't it? I thought the whole idea of this is to have every test match that relates to it. And I thought that'll be relevant if they're playing even before the World Test Championship, that they include it in the next one.
I asked somebody about it from Cricinfo. So they said that these FTPs were there in the schedule in the fixtures list long before the WTC was announced, so they just have to, honor the agreement, and they have to tour each other.
Oh, it sounds awfully strange to me. Look, sounds awfully strange. I don't know what's going on there. That doesn't make any sense.
I
What's the
think
point of having
the
a chance
first
if you're not going to count the games?
the first series of the next cycle will be India versus England.
So what, Australia England series doesn't count? Oh, sorry, India, okay, which has come up after. Yeah. That'll be the first of the cycle. Okay. Who knows? They might have had some reason they had to squash them in, and they couldn't relate to the matches because they may have affected who plays in the World Test Championship if they were included. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe it would have been too much of a stuff up, perhaps. Anyway, they'll get it. They'll improve. They'll get their act together slowly but surely with this. It may take a bit of time, but I'm sure they will get their act together. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta go, Norman. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, Krishna, thanks for coming for a while. Okay, appreciate it. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. All right, guys, I've got my bronzed booklet there. I've got my other booklet there. All right, guys, if I don't get any more questions, I'm going to head off myself because I'm pretty tired. If you've got any more questions, please ask. Ask me any question. I want to go out and see the blue moon or the blood moon as well. I just don't know whether we're going to be able to get a lot of cricket in England. It looks like it's raining quite a bit. The 2 test matches, which are meant to start next Wednesday, which is June the 2nd, and then I think the week after, June 10 or 11, they're going to be playing another match, heading into the June 18th test match. Quite a bit of cricket there. There's got the county cricket system. We've got the 100 coming up soon enough. Australia play West Indies, I think, as well as Australia play Bangladesh in various tournaments. You've got South Africa playing West Indies and even Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka, a bit more of that going on. There's a lot of games being played. All right, guys. Arun Singh saying goodbye. Barani says, we'll say goodbye to you guys. So I think it's time that I go. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for your time. Hopefully we'll get some more viewers next time. We're going to have another series where Jimmy Maxwell's going to be on pretty soon with me. We'll have the Palmy Army as well. So watch out for both of those. I think that'll probably be it for me today. All right, guys. But if you've got any other questions, please ask. West Indies versus Pakistan, as well as 2 tests, 5 T20s. Okay. Thanks, Keshal. He goes off air, but he's back online again. He doesn't exactly leave, does he? He's a good guy. All right. Any other questions, guys? I'll give you a minute and I'll go. Barry, I'm not answering your question. What was your question? This one here. If India lose the World Test Championship final, it'll be big pressure on Virat, considering not winning anything big. Yeah, you'd argue that could well be the case. Yeah, but I don't know. They've got too much faith in Virat Kohli, and deservedly so. He's done some amazing things lately. So he hasn't won anything big. Well, wait a minute. He was involved in both the India-England Test series and the previous one, 18. So he has won some pretty big ones. Shouldn't say that. He's far from spent. All right, guys. I think it's time that we end this. All right. I'm just having a look at this thing here. All right, guys. It's not a bilateral, no. I don't think so. Virat would still remain the captain at least until 2023 World Cup in all formats. Yeah, that's possibly the case. Because what are you doing talking but not on the thing? You must be doing other things. Yeah. All right, guys, it's time for me to go. I think we've done our dash. Okay, now maybe if India loses the World Test 20 at home this year, T20 gig might go to roll it for next year. Okay, if India loses a match against it impacts England's series in a minor way. He's on his way to get gross, but he's still typing things. That's strange. All right, if you're going to go, you're going to go, is what you normally do. Oh, I'm still checking the scoreboards. Again, go to my podcast. It's on Spotify. Eyes on Cricket, same name. The name hasn't changed, so you can go and watch it there and enjoy it on my way to go. So, all right, guys, it's time for me to go. All the best, guys. We'll talk soon again. Have a wonderful evening. It's Norman Koshnik here for Eyes on Cricket. And bear in mind, anyone's got 2 kilos of tomatoes now. So Eyes on Cricket. View, like, and share the post. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. Be ready for any more talks. Please ask people about that. Tell people about them. Go to your WhatsApp. Share them. Also refer to my podcast and Eyes on Cricket. You'll see the early bit with Chris Burden on that as well. All right, so guys, take care, and we'll speak soon. We'll see whether that moon's still out there. We'll see whether that moon's out there. Otherwise, I've got to go, guys. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy yourselves. Bye.